Live from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. This is your motivational, sensational, inspirational, educational, keenly awaited, highly anticipated edition of the afternoon swing trading floor with your humble host, Jeremy Alexander Newsom, with another daily dose of mentally delicious brain food, reminding each of you to love life, and trade it. What's going on, traders from around the world? Sharon says, we're back. Oh, yeah. Glad you and Donnie made it back. Excited to hang out with you a little bit tomorrow night. Mr. Javier, what's going on? My buddy Curtis LeJay, Brad, Bill, Ken Freeman, Mike, Rick, Sharon, and Tim. All right. Let's chat markets. It's Tech Giant Tuesday, and there's a plethora of info to cover today. And by plethora, I mean all the tech stocks that you guys want to talk about. Guess what the SPY did today? The answer after these commercials. It didn't really do very much. In fact, we had a perfect, well, I say a perfect inside day candle. We actually did make a new all-time high by 1 penny. 1 penny on the SPY. So, overall, I mean, it looks good. Here's the hourly charts. So the last 3 hours of the day, some buying definitely came in, some good volume. We're slowly going higher. It's definitely not a fast-moving event. We're up 0.07% today. At some point, the 10 will probably act as a little bit of support. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I am planning for it. If we get a 1 or 2 day drop, I am technically traveling on Friday, but by that time, I will be in Indianapolis. So I'm leaving Indianapolis Thursday. Ken says, did you and Brad have a wager on the Tennessee Indy game? Oh, yeah. And I won that wager. So I'm going up to Indianapolis to collect my winnings. I'll be in Indianapolis Thursday night and Friday for the trading rooms. And then I'll be driving up to Chicago Friday night. Be in Chicago all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday, back down to Indianapolis, which is only like a 4-hour drive from Chicago. And then stay in Indianapolis Monday, and then Tuesday, sometime I'll drive back to Nashville. So that's kind of like the quick scope. So I'll be traveling just a tad next few days, and should be a good time. But anyway, the SPY did make a new all-time high today. Trend still looks bullish. Market still looks bullish for the majority. We're looking at a lot of tech stocks today. Some are already pulling back, not tons, and that's pretty much it. Here's the Qs, and the Qs today made another all-time high, right? So Netflix made a new all-time high today. Apple was pretty strong for most of the day. NVIDIA made a new all-time high. We're going to look through a few of those with the Qs. They keep climbing. Here's the IWM, and IWM actually broke through the 10 today. So that was kind of an interesting event. We wanted it to bounce. My buddy Tad, and I think a few other traders got stopped out for a small loss either yesterday or today, right? Played it off the 10, bullish, got rewarded early yesterday, and then just kind of sold off a little bit. So really the IWM might be the ETF that actually gives us this pre-November dip. Right, so if we pull back, again, I think this is a very viable dip on the IWM, even longer term. So for my longer term option traders or retirement 401k, IRA type of investors, this still could be a fun event. If you do pull back, it could be a good adding tool, but looks good. So these are my next targets, 152.04, which we'll probably hit by the end of the year. We don't have to, but it's kind of likely. And then 161.23 sometime in 2018. So that's IWM, and that's kind of the broad market. Questions, concerns, thoughts, oppositional viewpoints. Otherwise, we will dive into this list right here, and we'll start talking about it. Who else is in the building? Tim Thurman, appreciate the email earlier, man. I appreciate it. Johnny, what's going on, man? Crazy that October is already halfway done. I will throw out, I'll start giving you some insight into the holiday season of trading and whatever. So just pulling this up. This day right here. So November 10th is Veterans Day. The market is open on Veterans Day to my current knowledge. So I do not think the market is closed. I've looked it over. I'm pretty positive it is open. Myself and Brad, so Brad's wife is having an anniversary of her birth on this weekend. It's her second 39th birthday party. So I'm taking these 2 days off, and Brad's taking these 2 days off. So the 9th and the 10th, there's not going to be any afternoon room. There will be a morning room, however. So LaToya is doing Thursday and Friday until noon. So just throwing that out there. So I'll be sending you guys emails. I'll let everyone know. But just go ahead and mark in your calendar. The 9th and 10th, taking a little bit of a holiday, a little bit of a break, along with Brad and myself. So 9th and 10th, around Veterans Day. Most banks are closed anyway. I had 2 traders who are also veterans email me and let me know that their kids are out of school, and they asked if the markets were open and closed. I said markets were open, but we can close down. And then Thanksgiving right around the corner. This whole week, so Real Life Trading, we always take off a whole week for Thanksgiving and then 2 weeks for the Christmas, New Year's time frame. So this week, no rooms, and that's right around the corner. It seems like far away, but it's kind of not. So obviously Slack will be open. You guys can use Slack. You can post charts if you want, but Brad always takes vacation with his family in Puerto Rico that week. I'm going to be in Iceland that entire week. I'll be in Boston. I might do a Boston meetup around this time on the weekend, but I'll be in Boston and then Iceland for Thanksgiving. So just kind of throwing that out there, the time frame, just letting you all know in advance. And then obviously here's December. And December, scrolling down. So these 2 weeks, just like last year, I'll be taking this week off and this week off. So these 2 weeks right here. Markets close this day anyway. Markets close this day. It'll close early this day. Might take this day off and leave this day open out. I don't know exactly for sure, but it'll be around these 2 weeks for sure. Time will be taken off. So just throwing that out there, letting you guys know that's kind of the holiday Christmas season, and then boom, back into it. So believe it or not, that's right around the corner. Crazy how fast this year went by. All right, so let's talk stocks. Let's make some money before all that stuff happens. IBM. So we're pulling up IBM as first on the day because it has earnings, and it is actually gapping up. So I did think yesterday we were talking about IBM gapping up. This is going to be a pretty good gap on IBM. So from IBM fans, longer term, blue chip, dividend, there's going to be a lot of opportunities here. Let me pull up the long-term moving averages, and this is going to be target 1. So yes, Warren Buffett did get out of IBM, but that was a while ago. He got out back in like around 170. So he's not going to be upset that he missed out on the boat, or because could have had a pretty big drawdown to get there. But IBM is actually gapping up to 153.10. Let me go pull up the 15-minute chart. Yeah, it's already cracking through that. So pretty strong gap. Let me go back and see where this 152.83 price comes from. Let me just verify how strong that is. It's not the strongest support in the world. It's not bad. It's not bad. Let me do a shadows. Okay. Let me go look at just the long-term moving averages, see where they are, so we know. This is the weekly chart. Okay. 100 simple. I'm just going to put a few lines here because this is going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty profitable gap for a few of my traders, a few of you folks out there. All right, daily, is there a monthly anywhere? Okay, monthly is kind of far away. So monthly is far away. I don't think it's really needed. So let me come back over here. All right, so about 153 is the 100 SMA on weekly. So we're going to need to be above that on the open, or at least break above that and act as a retest. Here's the 200 SMA on a weekly. And then, again, these are prices that IBM cares a lot about. And then this is going to be the 100 SMA on a daily. So very strong gap on IBM. I might say that 3 or 4 more times just so we're all fully aware. Really good gap. Very strong bullish gap on IBM. If IBM opens above 153, this is a wickedly strong bullish gap and go. Could be good for a swing, day trade, option selling for the bulls. I've got some shorter term targets outlined, but if you decided to buy some longer term options as well, that would make a lot of sense. Options, I'll put shares. So longer term would probably be at least January. All right, that's pretty much it. It's a strong gap. Feel free to watch it tomorrow if you want to day trade it, if you want to swing trade it. It's all about the open. It's all about the open. To see if it can hold this level and open above the 100 SMA on weekly, 153-ish. So, any questions on IBM? Pull this up. All right. Ken says, we will wreck it without you. Oh, for the holidays? All right, man. I know you will. I'll still be around. I'll be on Slack. I'm just not going to be, doing webinars. I'm sure I'll still be poking around, from time to time. So here's the daily. So again, this is the chart. This is the 100 simple on the weekly. Very good gap, my friends. Very strong. Play bullish. All right. IBM is done. Next on the list, here's Amazon, AMZN. And Amazon, we still got about a week or so until earnings on this one. I'm going to kind of draw what I think on this one, and then we're going to post it next week sometime. Big double bottom. Again, kind of kicking myself for not going bullish down here, only because Amazon's a little expensive. $300 stock, I would have gone bullish down there with my eyes closed. Would have bought options, but those options down there were pricey. And I also wanted to do a bull put spread, but Momo wasn't really looking that glorious at that time. So anyway, I didn't. But this is probably going to end up being some type of double bottom, probably breaks through at some level and then retest. Keep in mind that we're already getting a run up into earnings. This is what that is right here. So you have a few scenarios. Scenario number 1, we trade down on coming into earnings, and then we gap up. Type in a 1 to a 10. How bullish would that be? 1 to 10, 10 being the most bullish thing possible. What do you guys think? Where we are now, we start trading down into earnings, and we gap up above that resistance. That'd be at least a 9.187. I don't see how it could go much lower than that. An 8 is understandable. I get it. Mostly because you're not clearing the all-time highs, you still have some resistance, but it would be a really strong gap because this will be a flag. Anyone, right? So remember, people are shorting right here. Let's call them the pink traders. They've shorted here on 3 separate occasions and made money. They're going to try it again. So at this resistance, Robert says now will be a time for straddles. Now would be, yes, because it's at a resistance and it could roll down and then gap down or break out of this resistance. It's going to be a little bit of an expensive straddle for sure, but this would be a good place to do it because it's at this resistance, so it could go either direction. Just something to consider on Amazon. Now, so that's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is if we just keep crushing it out of here, and then we gap down small on earnings, that would be a good buyable gap. And then if we gap up into here, that would be a very sellable gap. Because whoever sold here and made money is going to do that again, especially since how profitable they are. Right? So remember, just ask yourself, what would I have done if I was in a situation? If you had bought Amazon at $9.40 and then it gaps up to 1080 on earnings, and you're up, I don't know, 140 points on Amazon in 2 months, you'll be pretty happy. So you would sell more than likely. So I think people are going to sell if it gaps up. And that's kind of my thoughts on Amazon. Could it gap down? Absolutely. Could it trade down, and then gap down? Yes, it does. If that occurs, guess who's going to be looking to buy it? Me. Somehow, I'll be looking at getting bullish in there. But we still got time for that. So we'll look at Amazon a little bit later. Overall, though, looks good. I do expect, and I can, in fact, I will guarantee this for you. I don't know what kind of wager or how I need to stipulate this, but Jeff Bezos will become the richest man in the world again. He was the richest man in the world for about 27 minutes, right up in there. So if Amazon breaks this mark again, which it will at some point, he will surpass Bill Gates. That will happen. All right, so there's Amazon. Baba. All right, so Baba's interesting. And by interesting, I mean doing exactly what we thought it would do. This was almost so convenient, it's unheard of. So nice bullish move, right? You have a good little roll. What does it do? It trades lower. Nice little bullish pop, trades lower. Nice little bullish pop, trades lower. Classic. Easy wave rotation. So from here, start to consider or start planning where do you want it to bounce. And of course, it depends on your trading plan, strategies, what you're looking for. This particular move, I tried buying it off the 10. That didn't work. So lost an R on Baba, whatever it was, a day and a half, 2 days ago. So it just simply didn't work. So the thing is, we have bounced off the 20 before, but the last few times we actually broke through the 20 and then bounced, namely there, and probably here. So I'm going to let Baba see if it trades down a little bit lower and then bounces, preferably off of the 50. Now keep in mind, earnings is around the corner on Baba, kind of, sort of. It's November 2nd. It's like about half a month away. So most traders are probably going to be looking at buying November calls. They're going to be expensive, and you'll probably look to hold through a bounce and then earnings. We'll see what happens. I do think Baba continues to go higher. You just buy low, sell high. This was a great low spot to buy, somewhere around here. This was a phenomenal spot to sell. You got that nice extension, new all-time high, right? Buy into weakness, sell into strength. Real simple. Real simple. Kind of like this, right? Nice little run up, and then it pulls back, run up again, pulls back, run ups again, pulls back, gives you plenty of opportunities to buy and sell. Gorgeous run right here. Pull back, all right, giving you a buying opportunity. So yeah, around this general vicinity on Baba will be the buying location. The exact price, I mean, if I could tell you guys that, be very rich person very quickly. Let's see, long-term moving averages. I'll look through a few other time frames. We're going to be below that, though, for sure. Let me turn that off and see how far we are. Yep, we're below that as well. Okay, 4-hour chart. I mean, really, 172 would be fantastic. I just don't know if we're going to pull back that far. But that's kind of what I'm looking for, 172. If we can get down there, I can dig it. Ken says, is it better to place straddle bet very near earnings day or a few days away? I usually like it a few days away. If it's a very popular stock, like Apple, Netflix, Facebook, I always go back and ask, what do they normally do before earnings? Most stocks, some of them run up before earnings. And then, who knows what's going to happen on the day of earnings. So I like to get in before earnings personally, a few days before, because usually you get a run up into earnings. Sometimes it can run down, but I like to get in before because the implied volatility gets higher as you get closer and closer to earnings, which means the options can increase. And of course, if you buy an option in the right direction, right? So for example, on Baba right here, if you bought this dip and you had bought a call option 4 days before earnings, you'd already be nicely in the money, and sometimes that'll help dictate if you hold over earnings or not. So for me, if I do hold over earnings, if I'm nicely in the money on something, I'll take the risk because it's like, well, if it gaps down a little bit, and it has to gap down a lot for me to lose on the trade. And then like for example on BABA, if it had opened right there, below there, that'd be a very strong bearish gap. So then you get out of your calls and you buy some puts, right? And then again, at the same time, if you have house money, so let's say you buy 3 contracts here, and you can sell 2 of them, and guarantee worst case scenario, you make money on the trade, then you hold one over earnings, right? You get that bullish gap and go, you hold that call. I mean, that's a good little payday right there if you sell around here somewhere on BABA, that extra call option. So yes, anyway, to answer your question, I would always say look back at whatever stock you're looking at, ask what does it normally do over earnings, like the majority of the time, and if it runs up into earnings, buy some calls before earnings, hold them, and then see if you can sell them the day of earnings for a nice profit, and then hold 1 or 2 over earnings if it's house money. Great question. BABA 172, that's what I'm looking for. All right, Apple winners. We've got a few. Congrats on the pullback. This was that drawing literally yesterday. Said, hey, look to buy the dip. In case you didn't know what a dip looks like, here's the hourly chart. And here's the if you do the extended hours, pulls right into the 20. So just right into a moving average. That's why moving averages are used. They are places to help you determine where to buy. And it may or may not have bounced off the 20 EMA before on the hourly chart. But again, there's a nice little bounce off the 20, and it didn't pull back. I was talking about it yesterday, pulling back to 158.50. Obviously didn't pull back quite that far, but nice little move higher. Volume looks good. It's still a retest gap. We did retest today. Moving averages are starting to get a good angle. Apple still probably has a few more days left to it. Earnings are November 2nd. So we've got time. Depends on how long you have, if you're going to hold over earnings or not, if you have shares or whatever it is that, you're playing Apple. But looking at on the weekly chart, looks nice. It's a good gap. We got a really good close today. I say keep holding Apple if you're in, and look to get out around 163 and some change, about another 3 points. And again, if you want to hold over earnings, that's fine. Apple usually does run up a little bit into earnings. So runs up some, have a nice little limit sell, take your profit, and then find out what it does on earnings, how it gaps, and play the gap accordingly. I'm kind of thinking that Apple is going to gap down a little bit on earnings and then get bought up. It's just my guess. But they could also have a lot of new iPhone sales. I mean, guys, Apple just makes billions. Find good places to buy them low. Right? Buy low, sell high on Apple. And this was certainly low in this area. All right. That's Apple. I think that's all I got. 163 would be a good target to sell before earnings gets here. And if you want to hold over earnings, it just depends on how long you got. If you got shares, of course, why not? If you have options, it just depends on how long you got. Okay, how's Apple? All right, Netflix came out with great earnings. Very good earnings. Made a new all-time high. So the high of today went up to 204.38. I do like the hourly chart. I did make a little bit of money on Netflix today. So here's the hourly time frame. And you'd all be pretty proud of me. Bought at this support right here. Resistance, a little bit of resistance right there. Support, some pre-market support. Support came right down there, and that's why I bought it. So I bought it there, had to stop there, and got wicked out around here. Let me actually go back in here to the 5-minute chart and see if I could have avoided that whipsaw. Yeah, I could have. I just left that stop alone a little bit. Could have held a little bit longer. Bullish trades just take longer. I'm always kind of a little not as good on bullish trades. They don't just run higher because there's so many trades in the way. Trading by myself, I probably would just place the trade, walked away from the computer for 2 hours, came back, got out around 200, close to 200, and called it a day. 200 was actually my target, which was only an hour and a half anyway. Still made half an hour on the trade, not crying. Simply saying all that to say, buy off of the support as a bullish trend. Here's the non-extended hours chart on Netflix, and it still looks good. So you got a nice high wave candle, 50. We haven't even hit it yet, which is at 197. Here is the 4-hour time frame, 4-hour chart, right? You're bouncing off the 10. Have this really nice retest gap right here, white candle gapping up. We're kind of retesting some. It might be a shock, but I think Netflix goes higher. I do like the upper shadow. Obviously, today's candle is not the most bullish in the world. Here's kind of what I'm thinking worst case scenario is going to be on Netflix. Come over here to a weekly chart. Again, this is just my opinion, but I'm thinking we do something like meow, something like that. I think it's kind of worst case scenario. Come down to 190 and buy it. A lot of traders had some interesting positions over earnings, some calls, pull put spreads, put sales, iron condors, diagonals, calendars. I saw it all. So here's the good news. To my knowledge, no one got hosed over earnings on Netflix. Usually there's always one person, not necessarily a real life trader, like no one in the room, just someone I have heard about through the masses of social media. I think everyone did okay on Netflix. Now, granted, it didn't gap that much, so if you sold options, you probably did okay, especially if they were out of the money, which you guys know is kind of my preference. So, yeah, good earnings. No real crazy move, down 2%, but that's not that much. Keep an eye on Netflix to continue higher. Okay. Come back in here to this hourly chart just to see. Yeah, buy around 197. Definitely a possibility. Okay. Possible weekly options trade also. All right, that's Netflix. Harley Davidson. So Harley, I had a trader or two ask about what could be a fun strategy over earnings on Harley, and this is the one that I came up with. This was a reverse iron condor, which is a bear put spread and a bull call spread together. So this was, you would have bought the $47 call, you would have bought the $45 put, you would have sold the $42 put, and you would have sold the $51 call. So total cost on this trade, I believe, was $1.75, something like that, $1.80. That was the max risk, and the max reward was $4. So, you know, a 1 to 2 meaning it was okay. And these options expire today. Now, the cool part about this particular strategy is even if you are still in it, you still have some premium. So this $47 call is right now worth 90 cents. All right, so this one right here worth 90 cents. This one right here is pretty much worthless. So you can just buy that one back and hang on to the $47 call and try to get out. You could have gotten out today at some point for about $1.25. But the puts, so the $45 put is pretty much worthless, and the $42 put are pretty much worthless. So you can just hang on to those. So overall, you're down like half an hour on this trade if you took it. Which again, not bad. If it starts really cranking out, gets up near 51, or like I mentioned, you could buy to close this call. Just leave these puts alone, let them expire worthless. They're already almost worthless now. And then if you wanted, you have a $47 call based on this candle, this volume. If you're a Harley Davidson fan, which I did not do this. I don't own shares of Harley Davidson. I don't plan on it. That's what I was trying to say. Here's the weekly chart of Harley. It is at a support level. So if you were considering buying, you could exercise the $47 call, get you some shares, and then ride it that way if you want. So just something to consider. That was a trade that we were looking at before earnings happened 2 days ago, and that was Harley Davidson. This is one that I did watch a little bit this morning for a bearish gap. I wanted it to open somewhere below 45. It just did not, so didn't trade it. CSCO, Cisco, up very small. There's a trader or two in Cisco. I do kind of like today's candle. This one's kind of far away, earnings, I should say. And what's interesting about Cisco is you got your little distribution, accumulation pattern looking thing right there. Public participation, breakout, another small distribution. Cisco will probably hang out here for a bit. Here is the weekly chart. The weekly chart. And we just got a little bit of a stair-step pattern. So Cisco, not at an all-time high, I do not believe. Nope. So very, very strong resistance. It's probably going to take a bit for it to break out. You'll notice it had about 8 splits between 1990 and 2000 because it was going bananas. Cisco is one of those stocks, if you had bought like 100 shares or something in 1990, you'd be a millionaire right now. So, you know, if it breaks out of this resistance, this turkey could get grilled. If that's the term. This chicken gets grilled. I think a lot of people say it. All right. So that's Cisco. Big resistance here. If she breaks out, it's going to be a real slow grind higher. Could take years, but probably would do that. All righty then. 3D printing. Speaking of getting grilled, this really wild, kind of like V-top bubble-ish pattern. This is, I mean, kind of classic bubble as well. This is what a bubble generally looks like, by the way. The reason I don't think Bitcoin is a bubble, I shouldn't say that. It is bubble-ish. It is bubble-ish. The challenge is if you have a bubble like this, right? This thing never got a nice retracement and bounced. So this was the first real retracement it got, bounced, and then just rolled over. Right about here, you go, yeah, this is done. Right? To be a true bubble, you got to get this. If it has these natural progressive pullbacks and just keeps making higher highs and higher lows, it can pull back at some point, but likely will get bought up at that time. So we'll kind of see. So that's 3D printing. Here is the weekly charts, and the weekly charts trading sideways, doing its thing, breaking through some support. You do have a little bit of support around $12. We're breaking below it, which is interesting. Here's the daily time frame, and you'll notice a nice gap down. I was looking at trying to figure out where to buy this or where to short it. That's kind of what I'm at right now. So 3D printing, big bearish gap down, a little bit of a doji. I'm going to give this one another day or two. Here's what I have considered. Put sales down here and maybe playing a bearish move like this. Or if a good bullish candle comes in at some point, something like this, it might be a bear trap because there is some weekly support down here. So again, if it breaks up, pops, gets into that level, and then goes bullish, this could be a potentially bullish position because again, long term, you have, I'll go back to the weekly chart. There is some support down here. We haven't gone lower than we have recently right now. Could be a little bit of a bear trap. We'll see. If you're going bearish, you kind of missed the move already. It might retest. This is a very interesting candle. Bottom line, I need 1 or 2 more days on 3D to really see what this thing's going to do. And I might miss the move, and that's okay if I do. I missed it on Friday. It was a very nice gap. There was just a lot of support there, and I missed it all. All right. That's 3D printing. Target, ticker symbol TGT. Target, I think we're going to play this little aggressive little move right here, folks. I think we are. It is real aggressive. I'm not denying that, but there's your weekly chart. You got 2 days, close above the 50 EMA on the weekly. Here's your long-term moving averages. Those are really far away. The daily chart, we're above those. Volume came in. Volume is reduced at this point. We're not gapping after hours. It's one of those times where you go, I don't know, is it going to work or not? But the problem is, here's often what happens for most traders is you tell a stock what you want it to do. And then when it does exactly that, you still don't know if you should take the trade or not. You know, has that ever happened to you guys? I mean, a stock very, very rarely does exactly what I ask it to do. So in the rare event that occurs, yeah, I'll take the trade. Every time. Unless I see something really strange that's just like obviously wrong. Okay, daily charts. 69. So you got about a month until earnings. You could do this with options if you wanted to. You could do this with shares. Kind of your call. 60.90 is the bullish entry, meaning it should not trigger bullish until it breaks above that price. You do that with a stop limit order. 2017 Target 60.90 by 59.45. Shares or options, whichever you prefer. I'm doing shares. Based on the gap and go, it is open because it's not triggered yet, and throw that in here. Okay. Target, done. Next on the list, we got Walmarto, ticker symbol WMT, and Walmart. Inside candle, the 10 is going to slowly creep up. There's a trader or two in Walmart, bullish, and if you are, awesome. Here's the hourly time frame, and your stop at this point is probably around here, 84, 86 is my guess. Obviously, we didn't quite hit the 50 unless you turn the extended hours on. If you turn the extended hours on Walmart, we came right down to the 50 right here. So you might be in, depends on just which time frame you use, or if you kind of looked at both and came up with a good price to get in. But Walmart, based on this gap, slowly, in my opinion, will continue higher into 89.44, which is kind of an all-time high territory. Dividends are approaching, and you might still have a good opportunity to sell some covered calls. Do you still have shares of Walmart? All right. Next on the list, we've got ISRG. And ISRG, here's the weekly chart, and this thing is going wild. Intuitive Surgical. I mean, look at that trend. That is a trend, my friend. Here's the daily time frame and the daily chart. I mean, just cranking it out. It did just split not too long ago. So the split was a 3-to-1. This is the daily chart. Earnings are right around the corner. And ISRG is one of those stocks that can gap pretty wildly. What I like is this double top looking pattern. I like that double top, but earnings are around the corner. Let's put ISRG on the list for Thursday. Look at Thursday and plan that earnings gap appropriately. Okay, cool deal. Next, we got FireEye. And FireEye over the last 2 days hasn't really been doing much. We're pulling back as we mentioned we would the last time we looked at the weekly chart. There's a really massive candle, very strong bullish. However, this is a retest gap, and we had a strong move, which, this particular stock has had a real tough time breaking higher. Weekly chart, you're above that. Here's the monthly time frame. And the monthly time frame, you're battling the 20 EMA on the monthly, which is very new. But we're kind of battling that a little bit. And then if you go back to the weekly, your long-term moving averages, there's a 100 kind of acting as a support. I think we're just going to come back down on FireEye into earnings, which is not super far away, and we'll figure out what happens. So probably a trade back down to 16 or so, and then earnings, and then we'll see. We shall see. We had a nice, very cute 2-day pennant pattern right there. So here's the 2-day pennant pattern, a little bit of a small white candle, nice breakdown, a little bit of support right about there, and wait for that to trade lower, and then potentially, possibly, more than likely, break down and go from there. And then on earnings, who knows? Okay, next on the list, that's FireEye. Here we have Facebook, ticker symbol FB. Facebook today helping the Qs because Facebook has made new all-time highs. Mike, high five. A few traders hopped in on Facebook. You guys all know I tout Facebook very often, just being incredibly bullish because you got Facebook, you got WhatsApp, you got Instagram. When you have that many people in one spot, you can make a lot of money. Just that simple. So, with earnings already kind of far away, at about half a month, you could either consider doing bull put spreads or put sales down here somewhere, because that's where it would kind of get a little bit bearish if it gapped down there, and just do them over in November and expect Facebook to probably do what it does before earnings, which is go up. And then into earnings, it probably gaps down a little bit. Historically, Facebook has gapped up and then sold off, but it could gap down a little bit. Long-term bull put spreads on Facebook, I could also see benefit for somewhere down here. Mike, is a very good question about the covered call. I shouldn't say don't. 200 or higher. I was gonna say don't sell one too close to the price action, because Facebook's probably about to start tearing it up. You can sell 200 for regular November right now for 32 cents. But this is a really good trend. We can find the next target. 200 is going to be a big, big number for Facebook. So when it starts hurting a little bit more, because by the way, folks, I'm not saying that Facebook's just going to do this tomorrow. It could easily retest and bounce. It's very, very logical. All I'm saying is, in my personal opinion, I absolutely, unquestionably think Facebook is going to triple, double, at least over the next year and a half, 2 years. I said that last year, and I said that year before that. And it's slowly climbing. Guys, they make a lot of money from advertising. A lot of money. And we have that many people. We have 1 billion people anywhere. I mean, folks, there are satellite cable providers, TV providers. How much money do you think they'd be making if they had 1 billion people? And Facebook has 3 times that. There's almost no other company in the world that has as many active users or people have access to than Facebook. Think about it. What if you charged every single person $1 a year? Just $1 a year. It's $3 billion in revenue. Once. All I'm saying is, if you have access to that kind of capital, how do you not go higher? Anyway, long-term bull put spread or put sale on Facebook. If you own some shares, awesome. Keep holding on to them. It will get above 200. I say give another week, week and a half, Mike, and look around November or December sometime, $200 covered call. Because if Facebook gaps up, which it very likely will on earnings, we probably do what we've done the last 3 or 4 earnings, slowly trade up higher into earnings and then gap up, trade down, and then chop around. That's my thoughts, folks. But again, when I'm mentioning this, I mean long term, like over the next years. I'm not saying that Facebook's going to triple by Saturday of next week, but by this time 2 years from now, it'll be in the 300s. I would imagine, or very close to it, 280, whatever. All right, there's Facebook. Oh, shoot. Wow, I'm way behind. AMBA finally recovered, and we can all thank this gap right here. Boop. What a nice gap on AMBA. Just gorgeous. Talked about that one in the stock review. Great volume, great everything. And it had a very, very nice move. And that only took 2-3 weeks. I mean, just a great gap. AMBA, here's the weekly chart. So it's had earnings. It's kind of battling those long-term moving averages. This could turn into an inverted head and shoulders or a V bottom or something like that. AMBA, $45 November put sale is horrible. You're only getting 20 cents of premium. Bull put spreads are pretty much eval at this point. I would say if you're not in AMBA, let's keep waiting and see if it breaks above 55 and some change. But that gap was very, very nice. And the interesting thing about this move, friends, is it is a higher low. This is a higher low on a primary scale. So if we break out of keyword if, is this an angle? If we break out of whatever this weird angle is, and it might not happen. Let me just throw that out there. It might not. But if it does, go long and go heavy. That's going to be a real good breakout if that can do that. In fact, more on that next week. Let's talk about that some. Okay. Planning for the future, right? That's what it's all about. TD, I believe TD Ameritrade, Toronto Dominion Bank. Yeah, looked at it last week. Had a good bullish gap. A little bit of a flag pattern. A lot of volume came in today. Earnings and dividends are already passed. It's hard to buy up here if you're not already in because it is quite extended. You did have a nice gap. It's really far from its price action. I would have preferred you to buy back at 52. But with this candle at the 10, I mean, if it makes a higher high and a higher low, if you're not going bullish, then don't go bearish. And of course, if we take out the low of this candle and we really break it lower, it could be a little bit of a small short-term bearish play. Again, looking at the weekly chart, you have a great bounce. Previous really big resistance, all-time high is at 53. And I would love a pullback to 53 on Toronto Dominion and buy the dip on that hardcore. That's pretty much what I got on TD. Okay, next, GE. A few people getting in bullish on General Electric. I'm not one of them personally, but Mark, Fred, a few others looking at getting in long-term down here. All I can say is this is a very good support. We have bounced down here before. We're down, wow, over 20%, depending on where you're drawing. It could be almost 30. Huge move on General Electric, but there's no moving average supporting where we're at down here except for the monthly. So you have the 100 simple on a monthly. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 black months in a row on GE, which is kind of a big deal. So let's talk about blood in the streets. There is some blood in the streets with GE. Warren Buffett got out of shares. That's not a good sign, but just like IBM, you can see it, doing its thing. So looking good. That's GE. Buy low, sell high if you like it. GILD. Gilead Sciences. Here's the daily chart. Remember, we were in this trade and got stopped out. I don't see anything massively alluring right now, other than this is a kind of a nice bracket. Let's keep an eye on it for the next 2 or 3 days. A break below here or a close above that candle. And it could be a little bit of a bullish setup. So that would be bullish. This would be bearish. I would need a close for both. Here's kind of the weekly charts, and you got that 100 simple right there. Could also be a good bull put spread candidate. Let's come back and look at GILD tomorrow. I don't have a trade right now, but we can start scheduling it for sure. Next on the list, US Steel. Nothing to really see here. US Steel on the daily chart. Just a small inside day candle. Small inside day. If you are an active day trader, tomorrow I'll be watching for this to be a flag pattern and it to break lower and fill that gap a little bit more, because we are at the 200 simple. We are at a resistance. It makes sense for US Steel to do that. Feel free to hop in and hop out kind of quickly. Otherwise, based on the weekly chart, I love that candle last week. This week, we're just hanging out so far, and eventually I think it's going to break higher. Would be really great coincidence if that covered call could expire at 28.50, and then I could do one around 30 over earnings. That would be real fun. Because if US Steel gaps up above 28.50 on earnings, she's going to rock and roll. Next on the list is Micron Technology, and Micron, a little bit of a bearish candle today. So Micron's sitting at the 10. You'll find out tomorrow if you were right or wrong on MU. Meaning, here's the hourly chart. A few people got into MU bullish today. It's out of support. Out of support right there. So again, if it's going to bounce, this is where. If it doesn't, it'll probably pull into the 20 on the daily chart, maybe a little bit lower. I will be looking at, planning for, and watching the dip buying opportunity on MU. Justin says, where did you buy X at? Oh, man, that was forever ago. I think that was back in March. Had a put sale at 27 and got put to stock on a gap down on earnings and held it ever since. Yeah, man. All right, MU, buy the dip into the 20. Snapchat, SNAP, it is still sideways. I just don't think it's going to actually break out above this price. It's almost like I don't even want to set the trade up because I really don't think it's going to break out. But I've said that before, only to see things go. So, setting it up. Snapchat, 1694 by 1578. Might also become a weekly options newsletter trade as well. But you can do this one with shares or options. Not very expensive. 1694 by 1578. Again, shares or options, whatever you prefer, based on a retest gap. This is open. But I've had this trade sitting there for 3 days. And I said, hey, if this is going to trigger, this is where it would. So there's Snapchat. All right, almost done. Twitter, TWTR. Not much to see on Twitter. Earnings around the corner, hanging out. As earnings approaches, this is just what I've done for a while. Kicked myself in the knee because last time I lost on this earnings play right here. Lost on that earnings play, and then we tried to buy some calls and I missed it, so I was upset. So I didn't buy put options last time on earnings, and that could have been an 8R trade, as I recall. So I usually like to consider buying puts on Twitter over earnings because they have none. And when a stock doesn't have earnings, they usually report poorly. So Twitter, I usually go out the money, 17, 17.50, something like that. 16 sometimes. Well, not the exact strike, but I'm talking just in this particular situation, but usually 2 or 3 strikes out of the money on Twitter. Not very expensive. This will be regular November, and 16 sounds probably pretty good. If you've never done it before, don't start now. Unless you try it with paper money first. Practice it. Get a good plan. It's only 25 cents. Last time I could have bought a option for 12 cents. I just royally screwed that one up. So we'll see on Twitter. 25 November puts, only a quarter. All right, NVIDIA making new all-time highs today. Slow, small, steady grind higher. Looks like she's running up into earnings as well. My next 2 targets on NVIDIA. So trend looks good. Whatever the dip comes in, if you're not already in, you've missed it. You're definitely late to this party. There is all the beers gone. No more queso. They've already opened presents. No one's actually in the house anymore. You have to go outside. They've already played horseshoes. You're late. So look to buy a dip probably around this gap, around 185, if and when it makes its way into there. The hourly charts looks okay. Looks like a nice little trend. Looks like it'll probably dip down to the 50 at some point. Maybe bounce off of that price. If you're doing a shorter term trade, I could see it. But some of you who got longer term calls, keep holding. Doesn't hurt yet. Sharon says cornhole. Exactly. They've already taken down the cornhole. No one's even playing cornhole right now. Justin says, do you want salsa or seltzer? Exactly. No seltzer water for me. Yeah. Seltzer water, unless they have some vodka in it. Even then, not even interested. AMD, small inside day candle. I do want this to pop out soon. So my plan right now, so that you all know, is tomorrow, if collectively we can get out of these 3 official swing trades for a total of 3R. Carnival, La Quinta, and AMD. 3R or more tomorrow, I will. Mostly because I've had an abysmal October. I need some gains, and I got right around 2 weeks to actually make some money here. So I'm going to lock in these profits. We got 2 more that we took place today, and I got a weekly option coming out today. So I'm going to remove some risk tomorrow. If I can get out of all 3 collectively for 3R total, I will. AMD might be one of those. Granted, I might be getting out a little bit early. If you don't need the money, AKA, it's more of an investment than a bill paying trade, hold it for a little bit. I know Drake is playing it pretty well. I like the pennant pattern. I would like to see it pop, and that's my thoughts on AMD. Carvana for my good buddy George up in Frankfort, Kentucky. Carvana trading very sideways. I like it. It's below its moving averages. Nice little stair-step pattern. Easy bracket trade. It could break down and it could break up. Either one looks good to moi. Here's the hourly charts. An hourly chart, you're trading purely sideways. So entry bullish could be about 14.45. Entry bearish could be about 13.45. And so it's a dollar stop, dollar bracket. Either way looks good. Here is BZUN. BZUN, so my good buddy Thomas, snagging a put sale on this one down there at 30. Justin J got stopped out for a small loss. So Justin, good try. 30 is a great place to buy this one if it actually pulls down to that area. Good job, Thomas, and finding the 100 as a support, because I know you mentioned you wouldn't be upset owning shares. We do have a lower high, but we also have some higher lows. Nice triangle. Best case scenario, we chop around in here for a while, but if this thing breaks out, especially if it breaks out bullish, get a saddle. It's Time to ride. Last but not least, TCHEY. What is TCHEY? I think I'm typing it wrong. I think it's Tennyson, right? TC, you know, like 6 seconds. What is Tennyson? TCEHY. Got it. All right, so Tennyson, another trending stock. Here's the weekly chart. Look at this trend. Oh man, very similar to BABA. I know I'm missing a lot of this move, but there's no way I'm a buyer here at 45. There's just no way. I gotta pull it. I mean, I'm gonna buy at 41 or 40. Buy the dip. All right, very similar to this. It pulled into the 10 and bounced. Probably felt uncomfortable, but that was the time to do it. I think this is the exact same situation. Look at this chart on the weekly. I mean, it's just really, really getting up there. So I'd like a good pullback to 40 or 41 on Tennyson before I'm buying that dip personally. All right, folks, that is what I got. Tomorrow is Energy Wednesday, and then after that, I'm hanging out with Sharon and Donnie. Pumped up. What are we looking at tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen? Here's what I got so far. Johnson & Johnson, AOBC, Mosaic, 3D again, GILD, First Solar, LNG, Energy Transfer Partners. Justin said they have to change their name now. Home Depot. We can look at BP, of course, CHK, FCX. Anything else? It could be an energy stock or just anything in general. This is your guys' show. I'm just here. It can be anything that makes your face smile. All righty. Sweet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are all amazing people. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, you know where to track me down. And until that time, remember, love life, live life, and trade it. You guys are awesome. See you.